Hello, welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind the Country Chic Cottage. Today we are going to make sublimation straws. So if you've ever wanted a custom straw for your own tumbler, you've thought about giving these as gifts, perhaps you sell tumblers and you're looking for additional add-ons to add value and increase the price, a custom straw might be the answer. And we're going to make these with sublimation. Now I am making the smallest version in this video, however, there are different lengths that you can purchase. You'll use the same procedure that I'm going to use in this video, no matter which length you choose. So now let's take a look at the supplies we're going to use for this one. You will need a heat gun, heat resistant mat, lint roller, heat resistant gloves, heat resistant tape. Then you'll need the sublimation straws themselves. Now these come in a variety of lengths, so choose the length that works for whatever kind of drink you need it for. And with the straws, shrink wrap is included. So you'll need the shrink wrap and the heat gun if you're going to shrink wrap them. I will show you an alternative where you can just wrap it with heat tape. And then you'll need a paper trimmer as well as your sublimation prints. Now the sublimation prints are sublimation ink printed on sublimation paper from a sublimation printer. And I have two different varieties for you, one with smaller icons and one with larger icons. I like the smaller icons better, but I want to show you both ways so you can choose for yourself. And I will have these summary prints for free in the description below this video. First, you want to remove the straws from the packaging material. And they do need to be clean for this process. You might even run a lint roller over them. For each of these, I did print an entire sheet of sublimation paper. Now, even the shortest one won't fit this way. It does need to go this way. The longer straws, you will need 8.5 by 14 inch sublimation paper, but for this shorter version, I'm able to use the shorter sublimation paper. I'm just going to use the paper trimmer to trim the paper. Now, I do like the length of the paper to be slightly longer than the straw on both ends. Then also you want to make sure to cut off the white. So I cut the white off of this side. And then you can approximate how much you will need to wrap it all the way around with a slight overlap. And once I get the size right for one of the straws, I just approximate. So it's about 1.5 inches. And then I can cut as many of these as I need for as many straws as I need to sublimate. So I'll go ahead and make several more of these. So now I have 2 ready in the smaller print and 2 ready in the larger print. Now these straws really don't have an up or a down, so it doesn't matter which way I put them. I did mirror my sublimation print, and that would be important, especially if you have text. So regardless of your sublimation print, you do want it to overlap slightly to make sure you get the entire thing. However, that overlapped area can not look very good. So if you flip your sublimation print over to the back, then use a long piece of heat resistant tape along one end. Then just press that down. And then you want to trim that tape to length, as well as just a small sliver all the way down the side, just to make sure that there's tape there and not paper, or that there's not tape overhanging and no paper. So just a small sliver and then trim the other end. Then you want to take this and wrap it around your sublimation straw. The side with the tape should go on the bottom, and you should add the side without the tape over the top. Now I like to start in the center and work my way to one side with the tape. So I'm just going to concentrate on the center, pull it very, very tightly, and then I like to use a roll of heat resistant tape and just sort of roll it around, pulling tightly the entire time. So I do this regardless if I'm using the shrink wrap or not, because doing this will make it easier to get the shrink wrap off. But I'm also going to show you if I don't use shrink wrap at all and just this taping method, that may work for you as well. Now, if you are using the shrink wrap, you don't necessarily have to use this much tape. Just note that it may be harder to get the shrink wrap off if you don't use quite a bit of tape here. So I'm just going to continue, work my way from the middle to this side. Once you get to the end, leave a little bit of extra and then repeat on the opposite side. So I'm going to start in the middle once again, pull very, very tightly, and this time work my way to the opposite end of the straw. Once again, leave a little extra at the end. And now I'm going to repeat the same process for my 4 other example pieces. Now you do want to make sure this is on here really well, and you can even rub it down with a scraper and just make sure everything is stuck really well all the way down your straw. Once I was done taping all 4 of these, I added shrink wrap to 2 of them. So I did cut the shrink wrap to size because it was a little long, and I added shrink wrap to the ones with the smaller design so we can tell the difference once they come out of the oven. To add the shrink wrap, just put the straw inside and then use a heat gun to shrink it down. Then I added all 4 of these to my sublimation oven, and I'm heating these at 355 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 minutes. Once that's complete, just take those out of the oven and add to a heat resistant mat. Then you want to remove any shrink wrap, the tape, as well as the sublimation print. I started with the ones that had the shrink wrap on them because you need to do those when they are as hot as possible, and they do cool very quickly. But all you have to do in this case is to find the end of the tape and then pull the tape, and the tape releases as well as the shrink wrap. And you'll want to do that for both sides. Now this is a bit easier for the ones that don't have any shrink wrap because all you need to do is to pull the tape from both ends and it releases. Once the tape and the shrink wrap has been removed, you can just peel back your sublimation print to reveal your sublimation straw. Now these are ready to use as soon as you remove everything. Now seriously, I can't tell a difference as far as brightness between the ones I didn't use the shrink wrap on and the ones that I did use the shrink wrap on. They look the same, and I love the way these turned out. So these would be a fun addition to your sublimation tumblers as gifts. If you sell your sublimation tumblers, this would be a fun add-on. This would also be fun to add to gift bags and that type of thing. You could even personalize these a little bit further with names and different things like that. And then you can choose your method, shrink wrap or no shrink wrap. Both ways work great with the method that I've showed in this video. So now I made my sublimation straws 2 ways. Like I said, I like it when the print is a little smaller. That way I get like full little images on my straw. Whereas where the print was larger, the images were sort of cut off a lot of the times. So I liked the smaller print. However, you can just pick and choose. Which one do you like? Perhaps you use a different print. Perhaps you use like names and that type of thing, like I said earlier in this video. There are tons of different ways that you can personalize straws with sublimation, and I hope you will use the tips and tricks in this video to get it right the first time. So now if you have any questions, drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you liked this video and it helped you, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. I have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.